now.
There we go.
How much did you take?
Gosh, I'll tell you, Potter, those are some nice Zukulin water fountains you got there. How much did you pay for those?
Well, I only paid 50k for each, but how much did you pay for yours?
50k? Wait a minute. What are we doing here? What are you running a Ponzi scheme? Where are you getting for 50k? Why are they so cheap?
Big Ponzi scheme, okay? Guild strongholds are the strongholds you need to do.
I've been scammed this whole time. You're paying
Scammed.
50k?
Exactly, scammed.
I've been paying 50 mil for these puppies, each one. I mean,
well,
geez, they're more expensive than trees at this point. And don't even get me started on trees.
Gotta get them cartel certificates.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Are we live right now, Potter?
Yes, indeed, we are live.
All right, welcome everybody to the first official episode of the Potter and Cliff podcast. Episode 1. We're starting with the State of the Galaxy. You might be asking, what is this all about? I've heard a lot about this podcast. A lot of great people are talking about it. Potter's talking about it. Cliff's talking about it. Basically, a lot of people are talking. Well, the podcast is going to be different each week, but you know, Potter and I are Nightmare Raiders. We'll mostly be talking about operations and endgame stuff, but every week we're going to have something new to talk about. PvP, ranked PvP, GSF, Strongholds.
And the most important one is Strongholds, because everyone knows that's the true endgame.
It is the true endgame. I mean, for God's sake, how long has it been since we've had a new raid? It's been like 9 months. We're getting 2 Strongholds next patch, okay? So take that, endgame Raiders. This is the true. We're woken up to the truth, okay? The Alderaan Stronghold, it had more thoughtfulness than the Duxon operation. But we're going to get to that later.
It had better bug fixes than the Alderaan operation.
Exactly. I mean, you need your own Marauders map to traverse Alderaan, for God's sake. It's so big. But, you know, we're really going to start this podcast by kind of doing a PTS overview of 6.3, the Galactic Seasons update. We're going to look at, like, the rewards and our opinions about them bringing back old rewards. The vendor, the balance, how that PTS refresh is looking like, some of the criticisms that we've been seeing, and we're also going to talk about the new Strongholds briefly. So, obviously, I think a lot of people saw this coming. Login rewards were fairly successful, and they talked about probably their internal data are seeing that more people are logging in more than ever. And my prediction was always they were going to bring back the Dark versus Light event, sort of playing into the whole 10-year anniversary. They always said they were going to bring it back, and those achievements were moved to the Feats of Strength with the other categories. And I just thought, you know, with the 10-year anniversary, bringing back sort of the central conflict of the game, the Dark versus Light, you know, choose your destiny, your choices matter, TM. And Galactic Seasons, I think, is a very natural progression from Login Rewards. I think it's a great choice. I think it's better than doing another Dark versus Light.
Well, yeah. Well, it encourages people to play the game more, play different aspects of the game. So, like, not all one thing Andy's. It's like it's always good for the game to always, you know, stay alive and evolve. But
no more heroic Andys. I mean, I know a guy named Andy, and he does heroics all day. He's got like 600 of those command boxes. He's going for all those legacy armor sets. It's crazy. So, and you know, I'm sort of a GSF Andy these days, and I would love if more people got into the queue to play GSF. I mean, it's the only mode in the game at this point that doesn't have desync, and you know that's a respectable thing to at least acknowledge.
Well, look, Star Wars is committed to ending the curse of desync, so it's glad that they've got one area of the game correct.
Absolutely, and especially, you know, GSF is, you know, just so highly populated. But unironically, I feel like it pops more than like solo rank does on Satil Shan, which is good. So it's great. It's great that it's free to play. It's got people in queue, and we're going to get more of the Galactic Seasons. And I think we're going to see more people doing all sorts of stuff, like you said. I mean, it's cool that they've got daily objectives that are just like rampage things. They're basically like going for your achievements. It's tied to the conquest system, which most players understand at this point. And one thing that I was confused about, though, is they got the free-to-play track, and free-to-play goes to 100. But if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the objectives, you have to have Andron, Mekshah, you have to do an operation, and those all those zones are constricted from free-to-play players. There's no way to get around the fact that if you're free-to-play, you can't get in there. So I was kind of confused by that. I don't know if that's an oversight by them, or if they're just not intended to get to level 100, or they can still get to level 100 if they pay cartel coins. But then you got to ask, why wouldn't they just subscribe to the game?
Well, that would be a good question to ask the devs. It's just like, how exactly do they expect free-to-play? Like, what is the free-to-play restriction of this Galactic season? Because, like, right now we don't really have much information in regards to, like, how exactly are they going to do their shit? Because, like, everyone wants to play the game, and, like, just because you're a free-to-player player, right, doesn't mean, like, you're any less of a player in the Star Wars community, right? Like, we all like this game. We all, well, hopefully we'll love it as much as me and you, Cliff, but...
I mean, if we're still playing in 2021, we love the game.
Exactly.
I mean, they got our cash.
Coming on to 10 years of gameplay right here.
Exactly. And, you know, it's great because they got this new companion coming. So I got another companion. I already have 2,000 of them, but why not make it 2,001? I mean, I have more companions than I have characters on the server at this point. I'm building an army. Now, this new guy, he's a Kubaz. He's very similar to the Kubaz citizen decoration, which is how I know this species from Star Wars the most. You know, he looks a lot like the guy who meets Han Solo in Docking Bay 94 in the original film. You know, when they have the shootout before they get in the Falcon and leave Tatooine?
Han shot first. Han shot first. Just want to say that. Han did indeed shoot first.
He shot Greedo. That's why this Kubaz guy... I mean, this might be the great ancestor of that Kubaz that was shooting out Han Solo in Docking Bay 94. You know, this might be his great ancestor. We'll just have to wait and see what the story conversations are like. I just hope that we get a chance to romance this character, because I'll tell you, he's got a long schnoz. Let me tell you, it reminds me of a few players in Failure themselves. I mean, it's just, he's a very handsome man.
The long nose really does it for you, Cliff.
It's really the nose that, you know, makes me hope that this character can be romanced. But yeah, his name is the Stranger from Kubindi. That's his name.
Well, I believe the Kubindi part would be the planet that he's from, right?
Oh, okay, that's Kubindi's the planet. I guess his real name is Alter Zok Adon. I'm looking at the post right now. Alter Zok Adon. So we're really excited to meet Alter. He should be good. But let me tell you something else that I saw in PTS that confused me, Potter. You got all these great rewards. You do these objectives, and you level up 1 through 100. You get a little over a dozen of these Galactic Season tokens. You could get a stronghold. You could get old rewards.
Well, they've increased it up to 15 now. They've given us more tokens. So it used to be 12, but now 15. It's 15. Yeah, now it's 15. Well,
that's great.
Yeah, there was a dev post this morning, though. The 2 strongholds that you can get, you can only get 1. So you have to do 2 whole Galactic Seasons before you can get both strongholds. That is something that they have set in stone. So they've actually upped the strongholds from 7 to 8 just to fuck us. Just to fuck the true end game, which is stronghold decoration. They're cucking us by making us play 2 Galactic Seasons just to get both of them.
That's crazy. I mean, how am I going to get... Where am I going to put all my Manon ferns, okay? You know, I got to find a stronghold to put it in. And those fleet... They had a home there. So I'm going to really have to stall out and do 2 Galactic Seasons, it sounds like. But here's my question, Potter. That vendor, I was looking at all the items, and we'll get 15 tokens. You know, maybe that number will go up or down a little bit. But they got great stuff on there. McKeb Gazebo, some of those old rewards, whether you like it or not, they're coming back. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense. You could buy companion gifts with your tokens for your companion. And I think to myself, why the heck would I waste my Galactic tokens on upgrading my companion? Forget whatever his name is, Alter, that's his name, Alter. I don't care if I have you level 1 or 50. What I care about is placing Manon ferns in my new fleet stronghold.
Well, okay, I mean, the big question is he going to be is he going to be a Shea Vizsla companion where you like want him all the time, or some like shitty companion like Lana Beniko? That's the real question. But
so, I know the answer. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing is that you can only have 8 companions, right? So, like, you can only have 8 companions doing a skill at a time, then 9th with the one that you're using, right? So it's like, most players by this point in time would already have 9 companions that are level 50. So, like, why do we need another one? I think the better thing here is to actually increase the cap of companions doing a task from 8 to possibly 10, maybe even 12. You know, just to keep the use of companions up. Because, like, what's the point in having more than 9 companions up to level 50 on the 2? And even then, you probably don't even need more than, like, 1 or 2 to level 50.
Yeah, it's totally right. And hopefully, I do think they should increase the cap because I don't really see the issue in letting people do more things with the companions, crafting missions, crafting. But I hope this companion has unique abilities. Healing, sort of like the bonus HK chapter Zoom, your Death from Above from Shabilza. Give him something to differentiate him from the other companions because so many of their abilities in combat has been homogenized where there is an advantage to having Shabilza out for DPS. There's an advantage of having Zoom out for healing. Give our new Kubaz friend something so I feel like I'm obligated to level him up and get him on every character. Now, here's the good news.
Make him the tankiest tank ever.
Yeah, maybe his nose is like the greatest shield of all time. But here's the thing. I heard he's in collections. So if you get him once, you get him on every character. That's good. But are the companion gifts going to be legacy-wide? Or can I only auto 50 on one character? You know, I don't have enough galactic tokens to get him level 50 on 156 characters, which is my character cap, by the way. So that is something to think about. I don't know if that's an oversight by the devs. But overall,
well,
the companion's good.
I think the companion gifts from the seasons would be a alternative to the Dark Projects and credit one for the compendium, right? Even though that's probably going to be a better use of those tokens because you'd probably want to get the other the previous season rewards or the strongholds themselves. Just I don't see the point in wasting on a companion gift where there's an alternative that I would say is much cheaper and easier to get.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if those, if there's a limit on galactic tokens, why spend them on companion gifts when you could get an armor set or, I know there's 3 new mounts coming in different colors. There's new armor sets, those seem like a much better use. Get the old pre-order rewards in this, like a Revan title or maybe something from Rise of the Huckra. So that's exciting. And of course you want to save tokens because that vendor is going to keep changing all the time. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, just like Kai Zykin, he's going to be changing every once in a while on Fleet, and we'll have to wait and see what's on there, because there might be other good stuff we all want to...
Well, I guess it all depends on what's once in a while. Is it once in a while in terms of operations, where we get a new one every 4 years? Or is it going to be ranked rewards, where we get new rewards every... When was the last time we got new ranked rewards, actually? Season 10?
New ranked rewards. No, that would have been Season 13. There was...
Okay.
Wait, Season 13 just... No,
yeah.
Season 12.
So Season 12, okay.
It's been 10 months at this point. That was last summer when Season 12 concluded, and there was a new armor set and the Rombuck mount. The Rombuck, I mean, it's a total beauty of an animal to ride on. I've seen it a total of 0 times. But, all the old replica rewards are better anyway. But speaking of PvP rewards, it's insane. I'll tell you, Potter, this preseason, I think, might be their longest preseason ever. I mean, I think...
I'm still waiting on my Furious Weapons. It is actually tragic how long this new... giving the rewards out, not even starting the new season up, is just giving us our rewards. Because, this season ended, in, late February, March, right?
Yeah,
and
it was late February.
Yeah, and now we're still waiting, a month later, we're still waiting on our rewards,
Yeah, they have, they've really taken a play out of the playbook of a failure player from Germany. They've stalled this as far as they can. They are the masters of stalling at BioWare. I mean, it was, 2.5 years ago now when they announced replica rewards will be returning, including Furious. And here we are, and they still aren't out. It's pretty unbelievable how they've been able to stall us for this long.
Well, the last 10 years of Star Wars: The Old Republic has always been about stalling the community. To the very end, before we're about to quit, they just hit us with a new content update, which at most is probably a 5-minute cutscene of a conversation on Odessen with a new story update, and then we just stay around for another 10 months, and they keep stalling us. It's it is very sad in terms of how long we wait for content in this game.
It is sad. It really is the ultimate content trickle, where they're just able to hook you long enough and keep you going. And that's sort of my criticism with this PTS. A lot of players, including some of the influencers like SWTOR, have been like, hey, I don't know how to twist this in a positive light. There are some major issues with this system. There are basic functionality problems with this. Why are we supposed to give feedback on this? Because it's obviously broken, and the proof is in the pudding what is wrong with it. Why do you need players to install the PTS to articulate to you what is wrong with this? The person who built it themselves should innately see what's wrong with it. And the PTS, in my mind, in some cases, is an illusion of content. By having the PTS Live right now, it feels like the 6.3 launch has been moved up, like, sort of at the end of March instead of end of April or whenever it comes out. It's just another way to trickle the content slowly and have players have the illusion that their subscriptions will
like, let's go back to last year's PTS, because it's almost been a year since Nim Duxon was released, right? How long was that operation on the PTS for? Because, like, you in Failure, you did your entire prog of the fight on the PTS. So it's like...
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, what... Like, the Nim community, we try to make our own sort of, like, fun in the game by, like, doing these races for World First and all that stuff. But then at the same time, it's like, when the entire raid gets progged on the public testing server, which everyone had access to, so it's not like people had unfair advantages. Like, we could all done that. But, like, when that happens, it's like, well, what's the point? It's like, you spend, like, 6 months of prog on the PTS server instead of the live server, when it should have been, like, I'd rather them give us a buggy fight on live where everyone can have, like, their own sort of, like, prog on the fight together at the same starting point than having, like, people who, like, are dedicated enough to go on the PTS. But it's like, it's just their PTS cycles are too long, and instead of doing their own dev testing or own bug testing themselves in-house, they just get the players to do it. It's like the players are the developers themselves. Which is, like, in some cases that could be fun, like, we're affecting how the game works. Like, the devs actually listen to us, but they don't. Because the shit that we tell them to do, the stuff that we ask, like, say this could be cool, or this could be fun, like, is there any way you could implement this? And they don't do it. Like, say, yeah, no, that's just too hard. It's like, we've been asking for so many things for so long. It's like, at what point do this?
Yeah, and we're lucky enough, like, the community is small, and we sort of get sort of a glimpse of what's going on. And I think with Duxon particularly, I think last year was a tough year, obviously with COVID, and that excuse has to end at some point for some things like new content. But, I think they were definitely stretched on the amount of employees working. But the players, it is fun because really testing on PTS is a bit like doing QA because their QA is so small at this point. And it really is a passion project from all the teams who are on the PTS to really, get the raid in a state where it's like, hey, we're going to be the ones playing it. So it's sort of, unfortunately, our responsibility to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure the raid is in a playable state. But, these are all, I think, very valid criticisms of BioWare, and they could be doing better because this is something that we've talked about before. There's so many small, just like bugs in the game or like interface issues or just quality of life issues where you think, how have they not realized this is broken to begin with? This seems like such an obvious thing to fix. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the players, a lot of the employees there don't log into the game to even see that these things are an issue, Basic things like, hey, this set bonus says plus 2% alacrity. What it means is 2% total alacrity, not 2% alacrity rating, because 2% alacrity rating is such an insignificant number. You're going to maybe get 30 extra stat, but 2% is way more. And there's so many set bonuses in the game that were just programmed wrong. There's like 100 examples like this, from set bonuses and tacticals being broken or their wording, just basic functionalities with Group Finder not working or PvP. And it's like, you look at this and you think, hey, maybe the developer server, the dev shard they play on, they don't encounter these issues, but on live these are issues. And if they logged into the game every once in a while, they would very easily notice these things. So
yeah, like, there's just a countless list. Like, I'm sure everyone can just make a list of like at least 100 things that are broken or like not done correctly in this game. And like,
yeah, absolutely,
there's just been nothing on BioWare's part in terms of getting the game state to, not even to like it would be fine if like we had no content for like 6 months or so. Like, that's fine. Like, if we're not going to get no content, then we should be expecting the game to be in a state where it's mostly bug free. Like, you can't get rid of all the bugs in the game, but at least like get it mostly bug free. Everything in the game is working. We're not removing PvP arenas because they're buggy. Like we're actually fixing them. Because like how long has
Yeah.
the hardball ones been gone for? Like months now, and they just took away another one.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
who would have thought removing content from a game because it's broken is the correct way to do it? But apparently for Star Wars: The Old Republic, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And there have been games before where there needs to be some sort of hotfix where it's like, hey, we need to address something. We're taking a certain character in a MOBA offline. This champion can't be played for 2 days, or this can't be done. But in SWTOR, it's like, hey, we disabled half the PvP maps. See you at the 10-year anniversary, and we'll re-release it. I mean, it's like unbelievable. It's like, how long is it taking to address these issues? Are we not able to solve them? That's very frustrating.
Speaking of the 10-year anniversary, because you just mentioned it. For a 10-year anniversary of a game, this has been the least hyped up thing ever. Like, you would think, just from a development standpoint, from a brand standpoint, that they would want to be like pushing the game. Like, an MMO's lasting for 10 years with a pretty decent population that's alive, it's well. It's like, well, I guess you couldn't say well, but it's alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would think the devs themselves, want to hype that up. Like, look at our game, it's really good at, but like you see nothing about the 10-year anniversary. Like, it's like the middle of April now. We have no idea what the new X-Pack is. We don't know what's coming in the new X-Pack. Like, for a 10-year anniversary, this is kind of lackluster. It's like, you look at other games, like League of Legends had their 10-year anniversary before, like last year, which was like destroyed by COVID. But like, they try to pull out all the stops for it. Like, if it wasn't for COVID, I think last year, in terms of League of Legends, for their 10-year anniversary, would have been fucking great. But like here, it's like, there's nothing. Like, there's no effort on BioWare's part to make this game what it should be and what it could be.
Yeah, and recently they did the dev stream, and there was something they said, and I had one of those realizations where I was like, oh no, oops, I was misled. Because people in chat were asking, hey, 10-year anniversary, 10-year anniversary? That was like the big thing people were talking about. And it was like Charles or somebody who said, now hold on, guys, the 10-year anniversary doesn't start till December. And when he said that, I had this realization of, oh no, there's not going to be a full 10-year anniversary celebration until like next summer, because it doesn't begin
we just
until
got
December.
debated.
And I realized, I was like, how did I fall for the oldest trick in BioWare's book? They're going to stall on the 10-year anniversary. I should have seen this coming, and that was too bad. I mean, overall, that stream, the voice actor interviews, take it or leave it, that's fine. But really, those interviews were like a good 25 minutes of the hour. So, and that was pre-recorded, premeditated, which is fine. People are into that. But the other 35 minutes, I mean, for how lackluster and uncommon the streams are, you would hope that they had more announcements to make. An announcement of an announcement of an announcement to the 10th degree is like really what those streams are.
The dev, like, I remember when Kotfi, or like, I think it was the first Knights of the Eternal Flame thing came out. Like, I recall, like, there was a dev stream, like, every couple of weeks, or like after like a new chapter drop, they would have a dev stream that would kind of talk about like the stuff they're working on and all that. Like, Kotfi, like, in terms of content, was like it was essentially a drought, because like we got nothing for like a long time. But at least the devs were talking to us. At least the devs were walking us through their process about what they want. Like, I guess it wasn't the best for the players, but at least we got some. Like, we got a roadmap from the devs. Now we play this game essentially with blindfolds. Like, there's just nothing from the devs in terms of, like, there's nothing to look forward in this game. Like, we come back, we play the game, like, we try to make the most out of it. Like, we try to make most of a bad situation. Like, I think most of us at this point just play this game because we've made a lot of friends in the game now. And, like, the game just binds the friendship communities, or the communities that we've made around this game. Like, that's what this game is now, is just facilitating a community of players who just want to stay in touch with each other.
Definitely.
You no longer play this game for like gaming, like the people who think themselves as hardcore gamers. Like you wouldn't give them this game, like, which is actually really ironic, because this game, like, doesn't even doesn't even promote the social aspects of this game. Like you can go, like they make it so easy for solo players. Like solo players, like any game you want to think of, like Star Wars: The Old Republic, has the most for you. Like you don't have to interact with anyone, and you will get everything. So it's like for a game that's like the only thing that makes it still alive is the social aspect. It doesn't even serve that purpose anymore.
Yeah, and part of that is because I think the game is most profitable from a cartel standpoint, and basically there's a lot of single player players who come to the game. They're interested in Star Wars. They've just watched Mandalorian or read one of the new books, one of the new Disney things coming out, and they say, "Hey, I'd love to play this game." They come. They don't interact with anyone. They buy, $50 worth of cartel coins. They buy, the new Mandalorian set. They look at their fun character. They quit the game. I think that is, a large portion of their revenue is from players who come. They buy a lot of cartel stuff and they leave, and they don't interact. So I think that's why part of the reason they don't promote the social aspect is their data does not support keeping that part of the game as much of a focus as the crypto market.
Yeah.
But something I want to talk about, I will say, I want to give them credit because they just released the Swoop event. There's a Galactic Seasons event. They had the Feast of Prosperity event. I will say, with COVID, they got creative where maybe they were working from home and they were able to make content that is a bit easier to make at home. And really, that's what Swoop event was. That's what Feast of Prosperity was. The rewards are pretty good. The events themselves aren't like the greatest thing ever, but they're really pushing this game into having seasonal events. They got Nar Shaddaa in the summer. You got Life Day in the winter. You got your fall event now with the Feast of Prosperity. They're really filling out the whole roster so that if this game ever does go into like a true maintenance mode, it could exist forever with the servers online, where there's always something new to do every week. Bounty event, Rakghoul, Bree. Now these new ones, Swoop, Feast of Prosperity. I do think that's a good thing. I think it's smart they did that.
Well, they have certainly more they have a lot of the way that they do their conquest, where like 1 week's bounty week or another week's Rakghoul, and then you have Ilum and all that stuff. Like I like that. Like that is pretty good. Like that they have like this rotation of content because the game has been around for so long that they can like bring out, and like people who still enjoy it. Like everyone enjoys doing a Xeno every now and again. Same with Eyeless. So it's like it's always fun doing those operations, doing the dailies. Like the dailies aren't that bad. Like I guess for Ilum, it would be nice if we had some more overworld PvP aspect to it, because like I don't think I've ever done the PvP missions for Ilum. It's like it would be nice if we could like get that up again, because like PvP is so underserved in this game. But like that is one of the good things that they do is like that they've done is that they've built up this like store of content. I guess the one thing that they can do right now to like make them even better is just to introduce new rewards. Like imagine like a new like for Gree, for example, like the scaling armor. Like how about you just release the same armor, because they got 3 white and blue, and
white, blue, and red. Yeah.
So like imagine they release like like the normal black one, but instead of like blue or red lights, they release one of green lights. Like that'd be like, it's a fairly like cosmetic reward. Like it's just an armor of green lights, but it's just something new for players to like. Yeah, let's do this again. Let's farm the tokens and grab this. It's like just adding like just small new rewards to things like would keep the content fresh for people to like keep coming back to it.
Yeah, all those lair bosses are great. Rakghoul and Gree, and even the new Geno Queen. It's pretty good. And we were talking. I think like for the future of operations, it's very possible we might get a 1 lair instance boss. After Gods in the Machine was fully done and fully realized with Nightmare in 5.10. On Oasis, there was the Geno Queen that came out to get your 258 main hands. I don't know what kind of gearing you put with a lair boss if they do it before a new expansion, but I think all players would be welcome to the idea of them, doing another, difficult lair boss, maybe like Colossal Monolith.
Yeah.
And with the amount of, content and production being, reduced in Star Wars, I think 1 boss would be totally fine. We'd all be very happy with that. We'd love to see that by the end of the year. And but right now, like, we don't have really much information from the devs. What is Matt Puchovich working on? Is Camera 2 still there? It'd be nice to get some sort of information, because now it is past the beginning of 2021. It's April. There's no roadmap. There's not really much announcement besides 6.3, which is fine, but we need to start looking ahead towards more beefy content, the meat and potatoes, end game stuff.
Well, like, their bosses, like these one boss instances, like, I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, they're not an operation we want, like, because everyone wants an operation that, like, it's like 5-6 bosses, you probably it would be fun. But like their bosses in general, like, I don't really find them like too annoying. Like, the reason why like we all like kind of like get annoyed with them is because you do them so many times at the very start. Like Geno Queen, for example, right? Like, it got released with the Oasis update, which is like 2 years ago now. But like that boss is like, it's a fairly fun fight. But then once the new X pack dropped, like, did they do anything to like keep it relevant? No, it's like the same thing with the other ones. Like, the only relevant lair boss there's 2 relevant lair bosses right now, which is Colossal Monolith, just for the title for the Ruined World, which is like a pretty decent title, and you get like a cool mount out of it.
Cool mount,
and then TC, which, and the only reason why TC is even relevant in today's content is with TC farm, or just farming tech fragments, which is all because of you, Cliff. I'm just going to put that out there. This is all because of you. It's fucking farming of TC. But it's like, that's the whole reason. It's like...
That's what happens is, see, this whole tier, one of the things they said early on is it's all about horizontal progression, right? So you get your 306 gear very fast. You do it by doing hammer stations or whatever. But once you're 306, you know, you've just begun. You got to get your set bonuses, your tacticals. There's a bunch of achievements tied to it. And that's the horizontal part where everyone's 306 gear, because a lot of the more casual players complained, I want the best gear, I want the best gear. And for a while, it's like, well, you don't need the best gear because you're not doing Nightmare. But at this point, they decided, all right, every player can have the best gear, because that is an illusion of content, because we have to stall for a lot longer. So that's something they could say in the short term to satisfy the player base that's more casual. It's like, ta-da, you get the gear. Now you're happy. And that's the way that they've satisfied or fulfilled on a promise when there was nothing else to deliver on.
Well, see, they can like I just thought of this right now, but like a really great, like, the way that Operation Gear used to be set out,
Harry Potter,
is that you would do story modes to get one type of gear, and then you would go do hard mode to get the next level, and then when you finally got all your hard mode gear, you would then go into Nightmare and get the best gear in the game, right? And like, not everyone's going to do operations. It's 8 people. It's annoying. It's frustrating and all that. That's fine. But like, take chapters, for example, right? You can do the story mode chapters. You get to the base level of gear. Say that's 302, right? Then you can do veteran chapters. You get gear up to 304. Then you finally do master mode chapters, and you get 306 gear like that. Like, that just, like, it tiers up the gearing. So like, it actually, like, it's stalling content, but at least it's like, you'll have things to do. There's alternatives of gearing up in this game, other than running master mode fucking hammer station like 50 billion times, and then until you finally get the grind over.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned TC. The reason we do TC, there's no trash. You go and you kill the boss. It's like Geno Queen would be fun, but for the same rewards as Taboro's Courtyard, you have to kill trash for 3 minutes, and then you do a fight that's a little bit slower with more complex mechanics. Now,
same thing with Monolith as well.
Yeah, the way you fix this is you say, hey, Taboro's Courtyard is very easy. Look at the time to kill on this fight. Maybe the reward should be less for this compared to, you know, Geno or Colossal Monolith. And that'd be a really easy way to fix it. Because look at it right now. This is how weird things are with gearing. You get more tech fragments for doing story mode Taboro's Courtyard than you do for doing hard mode. There's actually no reason to do hard mode Taboro's Courtyard besides maybe getting more BIS 471 409 arm rates. That's the only reason you would do it, is hard mode and master mode have a better chance to give best in slot gear. But really, at this point, everyone's got that, and the drops all give the same amount of tech fragments, same amount of embers. You still get the processed isotope stabilizers. So why not do the mode that auto teleports you there and gives you double the lose hard mode?
But like,
that's a huge issue.
You said something really great there, is best in slot gear. What is best in slot gear? Because we have, right now, a line of demarcation between capped content, which is everything legacy in terms of story content, flashpoints, raids.
Yeah.
And then we have 3 three things in the game that is actually scaled to level 75, which is the new Duxon operation, the flashpoint, and what was the third thing? I think it was. No, there's two new flashpoints. Two new flashpoints.
So the only zones that utilize mastering power properly are Andron, Mekshah, ranked PvP, Duxon, Nightmare, almost Duxon, and then Spirit of Vengeance and Objective Meridian.
Yeah.
Besides that, your mastering power no good.
Yeah.
So that's something that's very frustrating. Obviously, most players have tertiary stat as primary, and you have different relics, and some players just decide to use the tertiary relics because it makes it easier. But it's confusing because BioWare, they did the system basically saying, hey, we're gonna retune all the content like we have for 4.0 and 5.0. Now in 6.0, we're going to make it level 70 because it'll make it easy for us to never retune it again. But then they went ahead and messed up white damage, so it's already been more trouble than it's worth. It took them a year to fix that, and for all we know, there will be an issue. Historically, there's always been issues and bugs. So when there's a new expansion, new level cap, new gear, that stuff might be messed up again. Dreadmaster Brownies might be too easy, too hard. Everything is going to be totally out of whack again. Maybe force and tech damage does less than ranged and melee. You never know.
Yeah. It is
very likely.
Never mind the fact that they actually went back in and rescaled Gods of Machine for like the current thing. So like when 6.0 first dropped, I think if I recall at the time, Gods was at its hardest state, even before like it originally dropped. Like the scaling in Gods was like semi-broken, right? And then they introduced Veteran's Edge into Gods, which made it a joke, and everyone complained that it was a joke. And like this was supposedly the hardest raid that they ever made. They're never going to make a hard raid as hard as it ever. And so like, I guess as a community, well, in terms of the Nightmare community, I guess we were all like kind of protective of it. Like if this is going to be the standard of raiding from now on, like nothing's going to top this, then you have to make this right. And we pushed for it. And they kind of like scaled it to like now it's like in a pretty decent state. Like they've shown that they can go back and scale the content correctly, properly, right? So like I honestly don't understand. Like I would have taken a delayed expansion launch, like by like 2 months, I don't care, for them to scale the game correctly and do it properly than whatever this shit that they have right now. Because it's like
the cap is bad.
Yeah, like there's people in the game who are dedicated enough, or maybe just bored enough, you never know, who have 2 sets of armor, one for capped content, one for uncapped content. And like, what is the point of that? Like, the BIS mods for tanking isn't even 306. It's going back to Ziost and grabbing mods from the daily vendor because it has I think it has absorb or defense rating on it instead of the current power, which is capped. So it's like, imagine going back for 3 content cycles for BIS tanking mods. Like, that's pretty silly. That's pretty stupid.
And honestly, this is an issue that they weren't aware of. This was not their intention. But it is very frustrating because you think like, wow, this is such a huge oversight. How can this happen? And it did happen. And this is the problem is they rescaled the con 4.0, 5.0. What was the point of doing this? It was to save time, they say, but they've already gone back and had to rework, not just Gods, but everything. Veteran range up, veteran range down, white damage needs to come up. And it's, like I said, it's already been more trouble than it's worth, and that's annoying. I think we had one more thing we wanted to talk about, and that was class balance. Obviously, class balance is actually really good right now, and most classes have comparable single target.
In terms of PvE, all the classes are in a good spot. Like, you can bring any class into any operation. There's like some boss fights that necessitate a certain class for a particular mechanic. But like that's fine, like that's not a problem. But like in terms of damage and survivability, like all the classes are essentially in this even playing field now, which is great because it used to be just like stack a particular class because it was the meta, and like bringing anything else would just be like you're hurting your team. But like now, you can essentially pick a class, play it, and like you'll be fine.
Yeah, and it was nice seeing range DPS become a bit more viable in Duxon because it wasn't as necessary for Gods in the Machine. There's many fights in Duxon where having range DPS is very helpful. But at this point, Onslaught came out in October 2019. There's been very little as far as class balance, and that's a form of content, especially for PvP. So is there class balance coming? They haven't really said anything officially, and I don't even know if they've really said much as far as like Theorycraft Discord or what influencers know. I don't know if there's much class balance coming. It would be so easy for them to add set bonuses like they attempted on Nightmare Duxon, and that would be a new way to balance classes. Or how about some tacticals? They went all in on the tactical system, but they haven't launched any new tacticals beyond the 6.0 release besides crafted Kaizyken ones. And there were some great Kaizyken crafted tacticals, like Grit Teeth. But other than that, a lot of classes, it's like, guess what? If you're playing PT, you run the 100% critical damage. If you play Sork, you're going to run Tempest Row or Slow Mercy.
Well, it's also the set bonuses themselves don't even cater to the classes, right? Like, take for example, Sork, yeah, like Gathering Storm, it's not the best for Madness, right? Like, it's okay, it's decent, it's better than the rest. But like, the only reason why you use it because it's exactly that. It's better than the rest. It's essentially the set bonus is built for Lightning. It makes Lightning so strong, and it's like that's great and all. But like, think of the other classes. Like for Mercs, right? For the longest time, it was concentrated fire for all three specs. Like even healing, you're running the DPS fucking DPS set for it. But now, now there's a bit of variation for Mercs. Like for IO, you run concentrated fire. For Arsenal, you run Apex Predator. And like for Merc healing, like you still run concentrated fire. And like, yeah, I guess this is kind of a meme, but running Tech Medic as a Merc is a fairly viable option. So it's like you they're slowly bringing these options in, but like it's not fast enough. Like,
yeah, and Theorycraft Discord, it served its purpose, is very useful on launch, amplifiers, set bonuses, answering questions, and finding alacrity breakpoints. But at this point, there's small debates about which alacrity point is best based on your ping, how often do dots tick, what is the correct breakpoint. But a lot of it is futile, and they're dragging it out to a nefarious end. And the reason for that is there aren't enough tough DPS checks in the game. It's like, it doesn't really matter when we focus on what the exact stat or something we need, which is, a lot of the community needs. It's like, guess what? It doesn't matter. First of all, a lot of the content is capped at level 70 for your mastered power. And second of all, the checks aren't that difficult. There's new augments in the game. Everyone's going to have 306 here. And the players would be better focusing their attention on how to min-max their class, what to do from a GCD to GCD basis in the moment, not following an exact chart that tells you when to press what when every time. And there's almost like too much of a tunnel vision on output in the star parse window versus how well the whole raid is functioning together. And it would be very helpful if you had more teams doing raids. Like in chat, Mac mentioned, there were only really 2 teams that went into Gods of the Machine Nightmare when it was tuned differently at the beginning of 6.0. So their data is small, and that has something to do with the culture they've cultivated in the game, which is a focus on single player in 4.0 and 5.0. The ability for all players to have the maximum gear, so there's less incentive to go into the Nightmare Ops, and just overall low population. So that's an issue where it goes both ways. It's like devs could be doing a better job, but the population's low. It's hard to draw any massive conclusion with such a small data set. It's hard to say. And
I kind of want to add on that point about the gods thing. It's like, yeah, at the time when it was the hardest scaling, only 2 teams cleared it, which was Failure and Farming Components. But I remember that my team, Blind Bandits, when we started our gods prog on that hardest, when the raid was at its hardest, and like we almost killed Tithe by the time, like we killed Tithe the patch after it got easy. So like once they made the fight easier, that's when we killed it. So like but we were so close to killing it on the hardest difficulty, and like it kind of sucked because like it kind of it's like if the game stayed as hard as it was, yeah, okay, it kind of makes the like it kind of takes more people out of the game, right? Because like this at that point in time, God was like actually kind of hard, and like only a limited amount of people could do it. But like I feel like that's what makes players better and try to achieve to do better is that if the game challenges you to up your skill level, then you're going to want to up your skill level. But if the game just gives you things without having to work for them, it's like, what's the point? Like, the game, like, the best way to keep players playing the game is for the game to challenge you to get better and better slowly as we go along. But, like, if there's no progression in player skill, there's no progression in how you approach the game, then, like, the game, that's what people call a dead game. Like, if the game's just going to hand you things without having to work for them, like, that's where you get this whole, what's the point? Like, why do you care about achievements? Why do you care about this? Why don't you just buy the run eventually? It's like, because we want it to be challenging, we want to earn it. We want the time that we're spending in the game to actually mean something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think those are some great points you made, Potter. And I think that we've had a really good discussion today. I think at some point we'll wrap up within like the next 6 or 7 minutes. But I just want to remind everyone in chat that we are going to be doing some questions each podcast, and obviously this is the first one, so you guys know about this.
I kind of forgot to tell everyone that
No, it's okay. I was going to say, Potter, he has a Discord set up, his own Discord, where there is the
link's in the description. By the way, the link is in the description.
Yeah, and also you guys can also ask questions in here. Like I see a question right now. Jalen just asked, is Potter becoming a big streamer? Of course he's becoming a big streamer. He's doing podcasts now. You know, pretty soon we're going to be sponsored by Team Santos, G Fuel, and all the rest of them.
Look, we're going to BlizzCon, guys. We're going to BlizzCon. Just trust in the process.
Exactly. And, you know, Potter, he was AFK and he got locked out of
I got locked out of the struggle.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's where we'll end the talk today, Potter. But I think next week we're going to sort of talk a little bit more about Ducks and Nightmare and how that tier was received and, you know, what we thought of it. And I think we might try to get a guest on next week. I don't know who yet, but I think that'd be great. But before we go, I just got to ask real quick. You've got quite the Wampa here. Where do you get this from?
Oh, the Wampa Bug. That is from Life Day. It comes in every Christmas, every winter. Well, I guess it's a winter for you guys because it's summer for me. Because, you know, opposite side of the world. But, yeah, it feels cozy. I feel like it really fits in the space. You got a fireplace that's burning a stone tablet. It's great.
Exactly. Now, hold on. Before we go, look at this Wampa over here. He's floating off the ground. What's that all about? You see this guy?
Well, see, this guy is a Jedi Wampa. He has the Force.
Yeah.
Okay, don't question it.
Yeah, it's crazy. These folks are floating over here. It's unbelievable. But, you know, hey, we do with what we can, right?
This is a great
stronghold. Yeah. Well, we'd like to thank everyone for watching the first episode of the Cliff and Potter podcast, Save the Galaxy. And next week, we're going to go deeper into the discussion of Nightmare rating. So, thanks again for watching. And, Potter, do you have any final remarks?
Thanks for watching, guys. It's been great. Like, it's like it kind of is like, why do you need to do a podcast? But like, if we I guess like the best thing to do is at this point, like, if we want to show the devs that we actually care about this game, then we need to start talking about it and stuff. Like, actually, you know, start making like you only get so much as you give. I think is the correct way to say it. So it's like, I feel like doing this podcast is like a really good thing in terms of like, you know, trying to get shit done, as they say. But it's been great. If anyone has any feedback about the podcast, like things we could do better and all that stuff, you can join the Discord down below. Just put in suggestions. I'll make a suggestion box maybe, and then just give us your thoughts, your feelings, and we'll see what we can do. And thanks for chilling with us for the last hour, listening to me and Cliff ramble on about the things that we like and don't like, and it's been great.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll see you soon for episode 2.
I feel like I should like fade to black now, but I kind of want to keep streaming, so I don't know what to do now.
All right, whatever.
Sure, whatever. I'll just fade to black so that it kind of ends. Yeah.
All right, yeah.